Alright guys, we're here. Kayangel Gate 4. Kayangel Gate 4. I'm doing this video kind of talking about some of the things that I picked up, some of the things that I learned, and looking at some of the mistakes that I made and thinking about what kinds of things that I could clean up. This won't be a full guide of all the mechanics and the normal moves of the fight. Go to other resources if you're looking for that, max roll, mobilytics, things like that. We're just going to be talking about the execution of the fight and making some notes about what happened in this particular run. There's a lot to think about for Gate 4. There's a lot of nuances and little things about how you solve mechanics, so we'll talk about those and kind of go through them piece by piece as they happen here. All right, so let's dive in. Kayangel Gate 4 really is recognizing mechanics. This first thing here is a really good example of one of them. So Kayangel will dash forward and throw a projectile out, and depending on what projectile he'll throw, the follow-up AoE will be very different. My recommendation for Arcana is to use your movement-specific skills as soon as you can. So in this case, I try to get my scratch dealer out of the way so I can stand in a safe spot and then use my skills without having to worry about needing to use scratch dealer or spiral edge while I have to like avoid an attack, if that makes sense. Try to get the dangerous abilities off of your on cooldown before you have to dodge the mechanic. Okay. So for this, we're just going to try to now I messed that up. You want to left click so that the bar is kind of pushing the AoE off the map. So I kind of screwed my teammate there. It's bad move on my part. Okay. Now we're watching for his mirror. Try not to turn his mirror too much, so it's me. So I'm trying to just stand still. Not turn the boss so that it knocks people around. And then we keep going. Again, for a lot of Kayangel's moves, it's not really quite as simple as just stand behind Kayangel and it's all good. In this particular case, the safe spot is front back, so recognizing that is helpful. And again, when you get into these situations, you really want to focus on using skills like Quadra and Call of Destiny that don't move you too much, versus in this scenario, unless you're standing in front of him, Scratch Dealer really isn't an option. And even if you're in front of him, I wouldn't recommend risking Scratch Dealer, because if you're canted off to the side a little bit, it can push you into the attack, right? So I think for Arcana, a lot of this fight is when you know a moveset is coming up, you can try to use the skills that have movement associated with them first, so that you can be really precise in your positioning while you're having to dodge mechanics. This, again, standing close to this edge of the circle is really nice because you can react to where the safe spot is, whether it's up here in the front or it's out here or whatever it is. And then you dodge, dodge, dodge. Okay, he's about to do this mirror mechanic. We're trying to bait with our support here. Trying to bait. There it is. We turn the mirror in. Doesn't quite hit, but I think when the laser shoots, it will hit. Okay, so we didn't actually get the buff. So one thing to know about this phase as well that a lot of players will make is when they're trying to bait and trying to get this egg at first. So ideally what happens here is Kayangel or L'Oreal is a little bit further back. And so you turn the mirror into the crystal and then you can hit the crystal and it gives an AoE. One of the mistakes that parties will make is when the crystal isn't activated, you can actually still break them. They just won't give the buff. Okay, so a lot of people will be like, oh, where'd the crystal go? Well, you just need to make sure that until the crystal is charged, that nobody is actually attacking, okay? Even left clicks will break it. So that's one thing to note. Now, in this case, the crystal didn't get activated, so we need to kind of get him to attack and hit a crystal. So for us, we're just on meter building mode. So a crystal gets activated, we get the buff gets shared across. So now we're ready to do some DPS. I can use my judgment card here. Nice. And then again, right, so the positioning, you'll notice, right, in this phase, there's only a thin ring that we can be safe. If I had to use Scratch Dealer here, it's impossible. I can technically use Spiral Edge kind of laterally, If I spiral edge to the left and spiral edge to the right, I could technically do it. But again, like the ideal situation is I can just use Quadra Accelerate and then maybe Call of Destiny. Now remember, Call of Destiny pushes you back a little bit. Okay? So if you do use Call of Destiny, I have a recommendation that you're either standing here in front, so when you Call of Destiny and you get pushed back, you just only push back to here. But if you're standing on the edge, it's really bad. The other thing you can do is you Call of Destiny not on the boss, right? So like, let's say I was standing in this spot where my mouse is, then maybe I would consider not Call of Destiny on the boss, I would Call of Destiny to the side. Because then, if I Call of Destiny kind of a straight line on the boss, then I'm going to be pushed back here. If I'm standing here and I Call of Destiny off to this side, then I get pushed back and I have to the side and I have a little bit more space, right? It's a very small nuance, but it's going to really help your uptime. And as you can see in this party particularly, so my Arcana, I'm on eye level. I'm basically exactly on eye level. I don't have the dark card set, LOS. I only have LOS 18. I don't have the dark card set 18. And I only have level 7 gems, okay? And with those things in consideration, the DPS check can be pretty tough, especially depending on how your party is doing and stuff like that. So uptime is really, really important, okay? Optimizing this uptime is really, really important. Okay, electric happens here. So you can kind of like hover around the boss and still do DPS. And again, uptime is really important, so I recommend you do that. If you have the mark above your head, I do not recommend that you hover around the boss. I recommend that you just run and fix that. Got hit by that like an idiot. Make sure the actual lines resolve before you go back in. And one thing that I would recommend you do is you can generally have your support manage the crystals on the side. So what happens is you'll see on the mini-map that there's an activated crystal here. If it's yellow, it's activated. After a certain amount of time, the activated crystal will aim a laser and shoot it at a teammate. The laser is really punishing because it puts a damage debuff on you, so you take more damage, which is really dangerous. And it also takes away your damage buff that you need to damage L'Oreal. So that's really, really bad. My recommendation generally is that when this phase starts and you need to take the crystals, you have your support manage the crystals so they can time it out. Because you want the crystals to respawn in kind of a cascading order so you can always refresh your buff, right? And so what the support will do is, like, after a certain while, the support will go and kill a few crystals, and then they'll come back with the aura and share the buff with the party. That, to me, is the cleanest way to do it, to make sure you don't gas yourself out of crystals. What can happen is, if your party is inexperienced, you grab one crystal, and then everybody kills all the crystals on the map. Then you have no more buff refreshes, the 2 minutes runs out, and then no crystals have respawned, and then you can't do damage to the boss. It's super bad, and it'll ruin your uptime, and it might make you enrage the boss fight. So for this attack, you can moderately uptime the boss here, okay? I would recommend that, like, for these columns, you just kind of like deal with it and dodge outside of it. If you're the one baiting the cone, make sure you dodge the cone. The big cone has a delay before it resolves, but just like don't quite stand in the columns a lot, but make sure you're still uptiming the boss, I think. If your support has a shield in this area, I think it's like really, really good to use during that mechanic, because it will really just increase your uptime. Having to run around and just wait for the entire mechanic to finish before you do damage is like really suboptimal, I think. We need to solve this crystal here. So I should have left clicked this crystal because it's gonna point the laser while we're doing the mechanic. I should have broken this crystal, but I didn't do it in time. So now it's aiming at me and it's gonna hit my teammate too. It's just very annoying. So now we lose a buff. I didn't refresh my buff, and so when the boss comes back, we need a crystal to respawn, which thankfully it does, but now we also need to get the boss to hit the crystal. So you see how we can't do damage on that stagger because we lost our buff? Not good. Not good news bears. Okay. The traps. This is the traps, okay? This is what we call the traps. So how this works is these circles will float towards the party. And then at a certain point, they're going to stop. And when you get close enough to them, they lock on to the person that's closest to them at their current location. And then after the delay, they'll fly towards the spot that they lock onto. The best way to dodge this is to lock on to these circles. So you notice that I tried to lock onto them while I was standing here. My goal is to exit out the back. I stand here and I make sure I lock on the circles. Then once I'm certain that they've all locked onto me, I walk to the edge of the map, and then I let these things pass and I can go around and go back to DPSing the boss. Another way to do this is to uptime, okay? Where everybody stands at the back of the boss and they just tank all the circles, and then you shield and you DR or whatever, and then you get trapped, and then with flame grenades, you break yourself out. The flame grenade timing is really generous. Basically, once you see these circles appear, you wait like a little bit of a delay, and then you can throw your flame grenade at the back of the boss where everybody is going to stack. And then that's good enough, because then when you get trapped, the flame grenade is still persisting, okay? But if you're actually needing to dodge this, this is my recommendation. You walk towards this spot here, wherever, like kind of a little bit before the edge of the map, let the circles lock onto you there. And once they locked on, you notice now that these circles are going inside, right? It won't hit me at the edge of the map. Now, the reason why we did decide to do uptime strat on this is because we didn't have the buff. So we wouldn't be able to do damage anyways. So my shield is pointing at it's pointing at me. I was rotating it away from our Deathblade, who was knocked down as well. Very dangerous. Front back safe spots. We can use Spiral Edge. This is very good. So we try to have our support manage the buffs. Stay away from the laser. I didn't walk well. I could have used my dash as well. This is the targeted player can stand still, and then you wait. Wait for the circle. There it is. And then you can just spacebar past the boss. There's a counter. Ooh, didn't counter him. You notice that we have our support managing the buffs there on the crystals. This attack specifically, it's very important. Even if you like are kind of on the column, to be honest, it's pretty good. My recommendation is you hug the columns and bait the next few columns on top of each other, okay? It's really important that you do that, because then you're not going to give yourself enough space to actually dodge that final attack. Now, I was standing on the edge here. It was really bad. I got hit twice. Luckily, I had a potion. But that's my recommendation. When you see those columns, stand really close to columns, sometimes even on it, because it doesn't instantly do damage to you, right? It just stacks up the laceration. But it's more important to make sure that you have enough space for a safe spot. I have a buff I want to share with my teammates there, so you go ahead and touch your teammates. Big damn. Big damn coming. Nice. Stay away. These linger. You want to make sure you know that the lines resolve. Okay, and remember, we're trying to, trying to angle that line such that we have a safe spot in the middle. And we keep DPSing, and we're going to get to 100 real soon. Okay, so here's 100 mechanic. Now, my quadrant was bottom left. My biggest recommendation, so when this phase starts, you notice that none of the orbs are white yet. My biggest recommendation is at this point in time, you look for the first white spot. And then the second white spot shows up, and now you can watch the white orbs. So these are my 5 up here. Dodge the rings first is my recommendation. And then you can kind of just go to the safe spot on top. Make sure to time stop if you're late, and you go back to the middle. The middle is always safe here, the exact middle. Just chill. Then we're watching for the second shadow zone. There it is on the bottom. So the second shadow zone, you can actually react to it. The first one, you can also react to it, but it can be a little bit chaotic since people are picking up their white-black orbs. My other recommendation is that you ping white orbs that you see to help your teammates. Because sometimes, especially if your teammate hasn't finished, and then nobody can refresh and see what the orbs are, it can be really difficult. But ideally, you solve the white-black orbs really, really quickly. Hammer. So hammer move is really dangerous, okay? The biggest thing is he'll raise his hammer, and this is the tell that you need to be looking for. Because by the time the blue shows up, it can be late. And you really want to not get sucked in by hammer because this move is really good for uptime. But the move that he does if you get hit by it is really bad uptime. Very, very bad uptime. So it is really advantageous to actually avoid the move. I tried to counter there, but I was late. Front back safe spots. And a spiral edge is ideal in this case. This you can uptime, but make sure if you're pointing the cone, make sure you avoid that. Other than that, you can kind of uptime and deal with the columns. So I'm pointing the cone here, so I dodge out of it. And then the big cone has a delay. So big cone, there's a delay. And then you walk out of it after a delay. Some Wi-Fi. A Wheel of Fortune. So hopefully I do this with Call of Destiny. Wheel of Fortune here. Miss. We got bad timing. Now it's mechanic. So this mechanic, I do this incorrectly. What I do here is the risky move. My recommendation is that you try to ping the red runes as fast as you can, okay? Because it's way faster for you to scout and ping your red runes than it is. So I already know that this clone is the thing that I need to stagger, but you notice that I haven't pinged any of my red runes that I'm doing the stagger, so this is wasting a lot of time. My teammate is waiting for me to ping. It's much faster. Like if I just walked out and ping, 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 and then go do my clone, the pings will persist, and so my teammates can actually do their mechanic. But because I'm late, I'm risking kind of like stressing somebody out, or if their stagger is not as good, they can maybe miss that window. So that's really, really bad. So after we do that, we head into the last phase. Super important in the last phase to make sure that you're ready for the white pillar to show up to know where the safe zone is, okay? The biggest thing in the last phase to make note of is white pillar to find out where the safe zone is, and remember that the mirror happens while the safe zone is happening, and that the laser will resolve after the safe spot resolves, okay? I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So phase starts. Most important thing right now is after this moveset, we look for the white pillar, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now the move is done. Look for the white pillar, look for the white pillar. There it is on top. You see it? The white pillar showed up on top. You call to your party, safe spot on top. Try to get deep into the shadow. If you have areas like this, right? You see like towards the center of the map, there's a lot of space. I recommend you stand in areas where you have a lot of safe spot. Don't stand on the edge here, because when the mirror sucks you, it's going to be really bad, okay? Make sure you're holding your right click, and then the laser here. This is going to get a lot of people, okay? So let's look at the order here, okay? At this point, this move resolves. Look for the white spot. Look for the white spot. There it is on the north. Okay, call out to your team. White spot is in the north. Everybody get ready for it. There it is. Get into the shade. Get into the shade. Make sure you're deep in the shade. You solve this. Laser, 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 laser. There it is. There's a laser. Okay. And now we wait about approximately 3 moves, and then we have to watch for the white pillar again, okay? This, we're just uptiming the boss as we can. Uptiming the boss as we can. Try to use your scratch there before you have to dodge the mechanic. So this is bait, and we sit in the back, okay? So in my head, what I'm thinking is like, where is the next white pillar going to come? It's going to happen in 1 or 2 moves. I need to refresh my buff, but we're also trying to pay attention to the white pillar. Okay, so now I'm thinking white pillar, white pillar, white pillar. And I'm pretty sure at this point in the fight, I tell my support, hey, can you go to the middle and look for the white pillar for us? Look for the white pillar, because we're DPSing the boss down here. It's good for the support to go and look for it. Electric? If I were to guess, the white pillar will probably show after electric resolves. No, it's already shown up, actually. Yeah, so it's really important. So in this segment, it was really important. So like we were DPSing the boss down here, and it was really important that I called for my support to go look for the white pillar, because I actually can't see it at all. right? So sending the support up to check for the white pillar at that timing is that could mean the difference between wiping and not wiping in the raid. So we know that it's left side. There's a pillar, and then make sure you see, right, there's a very nice deep spot here. So you go into this deep spot, and then laser. So I have the mirror. Don't forget about the laser, okay? Bait the columns next to each other. Stand close. Bait the columns next to each other. And then you have enough spot to dodge. Nice. Ring. Wait for the first ring, and then you jump in. And then same thing. We're thinking about 2 or 3 moves later is the next white pillar. We should be looking for it, okay? So we're good for now. But soon, basically after this move, we should be looking for white pillar. Look for white pillar if you can. It should be showing up right about now. So remember to dodge this move. So watch how I dodge this move. Try to bait them when I'm here, and then after I see them lock on, you can go to the edge of the map. And then I'm thinking white pillar. There it is, bottom right. You gotta free your teammates because they need to do the white pillar very, very soon. We jump in. If you see my teammates are pretty far, they need to time stop, okay? They need to time stop. I actually need to time stop too. You see how it pulled me out of it? So the fact that I time stopped was like really, really good, and then the laser resolves. Time stop is your friend. And then we're really close. So in this run, we actually hit Enrage because we weren't DPSing hard enough. So this fight for us was like very, very tight on the DPS check. So we're actually in Enrage now. But you just have to keep doing the fight the same way. We need a buff, so I need to get a buff off my teammate there. There it is. We avoid the hammer attack, and now we have good uptime. Look at how much damage L'Oreal swings do to me coming up right here. Look at that. It nearly one-shot me. This is the value of quality upgrading, guys. The value of quality upgrading, especially in progression, is right there. That was quality right there. Nice. And then we get the kill. So uptime is really important. Knowing how to dodge the moves is really important. As you can see, the DPS is like definitely very, very tight, okay? If you don't have card sets and high level gems, the DPS check can be very, very tight. So that was Kayangel 4. Hopefully that was useful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Kayangel was a really fun fight. I might have so we should have done all the videos 1 through 4. But I think I might have a short video coming out just about my review, and then maybe I'll just post a full VOD of the Gate 4 run in its totality. But it was super fun. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys later.